What's up? How's everybody doing out here? Doing all right? Hanging in there? This is one of my favorite things that we do. We have done this concept a bunch of times. Usually it's been Bengals related. It's called My Favorite Game, and we will rewatch as a group before we come here somebody's favorite game, whoever it is, our special guest is, and we'll talk about that night, the fallout, maybe what it meant for different people's lives, up, down, otherwise, and just kind of all the craziness that's associated with what ends up being huge nights for a person or a city or whoever. And so we have chosen this. You guys all came out here. You know now we have chosen the 2015 All-Star Game because we have a special guest. I'm going to go down the line and build. Do we go up? Sorry, Jim. I hate to do this. It's an unfortunate seat that you chose. I'm the lowest, if that makes you feel better. I want to start with Jim Day. You know Jim Day. Let's hear it for Jim Day, Reds TV, Jim Day podcast. See Trent Rosecrans, who's been covering baseball for 2 decades now? 3 decades? How many decades? 2 decades. You're very old. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Of the Athletic, as am I, of course. But our guest of honor tonight, 4,392 MLB at-bats, 640 RBIs, 604 runs scored, 218 home runs, and on one special night in July of 2015, hit 39 home runs as the champion of the 2015 Cincinnati's own All-Star Game Home Run Derby. Let's hear it for Todd Frazier. Todd, I like to start these things just with as general as a perspective as we can get. I mean, now almost unbelievably 10 years almost removed from this, which is crazy. What is the first thing that you think about when you think about this night or this weekend and everything that went down?
Yeah, well, they're showing it now. I mean, family. And that includes all you guys too, because when I first came up here, you guys were the first team I was with. You treated me like family, and you guys kind of roared me and willed me to win that home run derby. And I had my brothers, my wife, my kid at the time, and mom and dad, and you name it. And all you guys were there. And that was the most important to me, is having family there and enjoying it with them too. And the roar of the crowd, man. I don't raise your hand if you was all you guys there. That's awesome. So I appreciate you guys first and foremost, and that was truly one of my favorite things I've ever done in baseball.
It was special to watch, certainly for everybody that was there. Trent, what were you doing that night?
I was at the Enquirer at the time, and it was me and the late great John Fay as the team, and so I did the game story for the game, and he was doing the game story for the home run derby. And somewhere along the line, we had a couple of tips, and this is kind of how the sausage is made. Somebody was like, hey, they're firing Brian Price, and they're going to hire Barry Larkin, and here's his coaching staff. And they had like his coaching staff, including like Sean Casey. And so I'm like, oh no. So like John's watching that. I saw none of this. I am all behind. I go up like left field. I find Sean Casey in the stands. I find Bob Castellini. I find as many people as I can to talk to. And then afterwards, I go to the players' party, talk to Griffey, Zelino, trying to find Barry and all this, and had no fun at all. Was just working, and then the next day watched the game. So yeah.
Todd's out here trying to create moments that will change Cincinnati baseball forever, and you're out here chasing rumors.
That's crazy.
Rumors are being created.
I never knew about that either.
Rumors are being created. I blame everybody else.
It
happens.
Sausage is made. We know that happens a lot, and that's why you don't report on rumors. You try to find that there's actually some smoke.
That's right. Jim, what was your role? What were you up to on this night?
Well, thank God I'm not in the breaking news business. I was actually there as a fan. I had no work duties whatsoever. So this was a very memorable night for me because I don't often get to sit in the stands, especially, and I distinctly remember, we're not allowed to cheer in the media. I mean, which a lot of people don't know and don't realize that we are not allowed to cheer when we're covering a game. even when I'm in the dugout. I mean, I get crap about it all the time, but there's actually other stories that go with it. But so I remember distinctly, you're up, and then you're hitting home runs, and I'm just like, like I'm covering, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm a fan. Yes, let's go. So distinctly remember that I am allowed to cheer here, and I cheered my butt off that night. That was an electric night. I've only heard the Great American Ballpark that loud 3 times, maybe.
Yeah.
And this was one of them. And it might have been the loudest that night. It's in the running.
I was saying it was that or Jay's walk or Jay's homer to send them to the
2010.
playoffs, 2010.
That to me, when I think of most electric moments in the entire time that stadium was there, those are the two. It's Todd and Jay. And what was you have a third?
Ellie's cycle that night. It was pretty loud. There weren't as many people in the stands that night, but that one rivaled it. It probably comes in third.
There were 3 rounds in this. I want to just kind of quickly document them. Those of you that came and watched the re-air for the last 2 hours, shout out to you guys, the real ones.
Yeah, baby. By the way, I cussed on your podcast. I'm very sorry.
No, it's okay. What happens pretty regularly.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I cover the Bengals. Okay.
I have a G-rated podcast, so I have to bleep them out.
I held mine, which is kind of the upset that somebody cussed before me.
No, there's regular F words at this point in time in the Bengals season.
All right.
No, there were 3 rounds, and I want to document them, give a brief synopsis of them for the reason of picking which one was the most dramatic, because they all had their own kind of juice to them. The first one, Todd comes out, and it's just Prince Fielder, 2-time champ, comes out, and Prince knocks 13 bombs out there. It's the first time for this new format that everybody's trying to figure out. You're down 4 with a minute left. You're tied just before regulation, and you walk off with the first pitch in bonus time. The place goes absolutely bananas. The second round, you're up against Josh Donaldson. It's 10-9. You're down 1 with 20 seconds left. You'd gone 8 straight throws without a home run, and the comment was made, his legs are looking a little weary. And you go back to back to get the win in that second round to send yourself to the finals. Then you beat Jock Peterson 15-14 in bonus time. You're down 1 with 15 seconds left in regulation. You almost got it out in regulation, but you walk it off after the crowd goes wild. For you, Todd, which of the 3 felt the most dramatic? Obviously, the win is something, but what felt the most dramatic to you of those 3 rounds?
Man, they were. I just remember sitting at the podium talking, and Prince Fielder, big guy. He's done it before. He's done a lot of home run derbies. He had a little arrogance to him. He was sitting there like basically saying, "This is my home run derby. Nobody's going to top me." And in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know what? I got it. If I get past Prince, I got a good chance here. And again, we didn't know what to expect. He had 13. And we're like, man, that's a monster number to beat. And when it's a 4-minute round, you're like, I think I could do it. And then eventually when I walked him off, my energy just got higher and higher and higher. And then I walked off Donaldson. I remember my brother told me, I forget who sang the national anthem that day, but as I'm walking through the hallway to go sit down and relax after I won, he said I chest bumped one of the singers, and the guy went 10 feet flying. And he got up, and my brother said, dude, he got up, he said, yeah, let's freaking go. And I'm like, I still don't remember that. And I'm still trying to find video if that ever happened. And then the dude got up so pumped up, and I just kind of blacked out at the moment. But I would say the first one, just because we didn't know what to expect.
I mean, Marlena Van Hoos was the anthem singer. I hope that wasn't who got
That would be a problem.
No, it was a group. I'm telling you, it was a group.
So it wasn't the anthem singer. Yeah. That's good to
Oh, my God.
Didn't take out Marlena Van Hoos.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, good to know.
That would have been the story of the night, actually.
No doubt. Trent, what was for you? What stood out for you, Trent? Trent, did you have a which round for you? Maybe
I didn't see any of them, but I will go on this where, the biggest, the best part of it, or the most there's a word I'm looking for that I can't find. But it was supposed to be 5-minute rounds.
Yeah.
But remember, we had those storms
rain.
early,
Yeah.
and they were it was supposed to storm late. So MLB said, hey, we're going to cut it by a minute.
They cut the bonus round too.
And they cut the bonus round too.
They should have cut it another minute. That was exhausting.
I can't, what would it have been like, Todd, if those were 5-minute rounds? Do you win?
Oh, man. I don't know. I really don't know. I think the last minute guys would just be swinging. You saw Jock Peterson at the end swinging like playing wiffle ball or something. So it would have been even more exhausting than it was. Thank you.
I think that second one, when you beat Josh Donaldson with the back-to-back shots, and it gets pointed out perfectly on the broadcast, because it felt like it might be it, right?
Yeah.
Like it was, they just weren't going out, and it's like, oh, you're tired. You've swung 70 times or whatever it was at that point. And all of a sudden, how much did the crowd lift you through those moments? Because that felt like that might have been a game changer, an advantage that you had that just no one else could match. The roars were just unbelievable,
endless. And I think the biggest thing, I had a couple lulls. I went, like you said, 8 swings. I didn't hit a home run. I went almost over a minute and didn't hit one. And they're like, oh no, he's in trouble. And then eventually when they said that, I guess I just had some crazy stigma in my head. Whenever they said that, I just went off for 2 or 3. But, it was the crowd. It was the world. You saw, I wasn't trying to show anybody up, but I was trying to pump myself up in the crowd too. And it was just so much fun. I just remember that year practicing for it just in case. And it came true. Not many, when you dream of stuff, not many things happen for many people. Been very blessed and very lucky.
Cool moment in that second one, though. Also, the ball goes out right as the 000s are going on the clock. They pointed out on TV. Epic moment. I mean, as far as the broadcast goes, and you could just feel the roars, and you're screaming, yelling, "Let's go!" How many "Let's goes" did you fire? I mean,
I think I started the trend.
Yeah,
there was the trend. Let's go, let's go. Now everybody uses it, so I will take credit for that.
Do you have a particularly memorable moment from that part?
It was definitely the final round. I mean, we just saw it was 14-5, I think.
Yeah.
Jock Peterson was ahead, and I just remember thinking, please don't lose to Jock Peterson.
I wasn't letting that out.
Wasn't a fan then, and just don't lose to Jock Peterson, please. This is going to be disastrous. That Jock Peterson is going to win the home run derby at Great American Ballpark, and completely ruined my night because it was all about me at that point because I was a fan for the first time.
At that point?
Yeah. No, but seriously, it was 14-5, and you had to take a timeout. And it just looked like, okay, this is not happening for him.
Yeah, I kind of felt
and it
it
just
too.
went on a serious roll. And I think it set up perfectly because you almost hit one out your final in regulation.
Yep.
But it was tied 14 all, and it just set up a beautiful moment that we just saw there. The timeout, the time you had before that bonus round, the crowd was just electric. It was so loud in there, knowing you needed just one home run. You could sense it coming. And then when it happened, it was a great, great moment.
I kind of have a follow-up question on that. Because you had, what was that moment like between when the regulation came out and it's tied? And you get to, is there a point you're going, oh, I got this one because I can hit one in 30 seconds?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much going in your mind. I always, in my mind, try and savor moments. But that moment was so hard to savor because I wanted to win so bad. And my focus was on getting that first pitch out. I didn't care how. I knew if I didn't or popped it up high, the pressure was back on me. So give credit to my brother for throwing really good pitches. And I'm telling you, every ball I hit just felt like it was just going out. So it was a really cool moment.
Frazier brothers also won postgame, right?
Always.
Undefeated. Let's go there. What is post-game like for the Frazier brothers after you win the home run derby?
After you knock out the blind girl.
Yeah.
Undefeated.
I think the biggest thing I'm going to be sentimental here and then I'll be funny. My brother Charlie was the first Frazier brother to get drafted. He never made it to the big leagues. So afterwards, I'm like, brother, this is your moment. You finally made it. I hope, doing this kind of solidifies, that you probably should have deserved being a big leaguer, and I think that was a really good moment between us. But the after party was unbelievable. Neo was singing at the after party. We're hanging with him, Eric Davis, Ken Griffey, all these famous actors and actresses, and I forgot at the time I have an All-Star game. I got to get up in 3 hours, so I'm like, oh man, it didn't matter what I did in the All-Star game. I knew Mike Trout had a private jet. I was flying over to him, and we started it up after that too, as well, after that game. So it was, I didn't want that flight there, and that was really fun.
But he had to stick around.
Yeah,
because usually, I don't think most people don't know this. The All-Star games, a lot of times the guys, as soon as they're out of the game, they're to the airport. They are nowhere to be found. They will come out and do interviews right after they get taken out of the game, and then book it. And so you're gone. And so, Lunkin was, probably one way to Lunkin. You don't have to fight traffic because nobody's leaving yet.
Nobody.
But because Mike Trout, you're on catching a ride with Mike Trout, he had to stick around as the MVP.
It was really cool. Both Jersey guys, Mike and I, and he won the MVP of that All-Star game. He's rounding third base after he hit it because he told me he was going to hit it. This guy he still is an unbelievable player. He basically said, I'm going to do some magic today. Rounding third, smiled at me, said, I told you. And I said, hold the plane up for me. We're having fun with it. But two Jersey guys doing something big in 2015 was pretty special.
Do you have any stories from inside of that plane that are allowed outside of that plane?
Well, my wife was on it too. So his wife, my wife, my son Blake at the time, we just couldn't stop playing cards. A couple of drinking games,
sure.
And it's funny. We landed by his hometown, which is almost, I would say, an hour and 40-minute drive from me. Jersey's pretty big. People don't understand. Everywhere you live there, all right, hour. The roads or whatever. And he's like, I got another surprise for you. You got my wife and myself and I and my son at stretch limo. So we're basically, it's 1 a.m. We're passed out in a stretch limo. So the guy woke us up and said, we're home. I said, oh my God. And I don't think we woke up that morning until probably afternoon, probably 12 or 1 o'clock.
Who were the actors and actresses that came to the All-Star game? Were there? So I don't remember that.
There was, they didn't, most of them didn't go to the home run derby. They usually just go there for, the festivities. The one guy I remember vividly was Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell.
Mark Paul Goss?
Yeah, yes. He was, that guy is a beast. Absolute stud of a man. And my wife was like, oh my God, this is so cool. But actually, no, that was, I take that back. She didn't go because she was she had our second child. It was the year after she met somebody else in San Diego. But I'm like, yeah, we're hanging out with Zach Morris and those guys, and they're like, oh, what the heck is going on here?
I know in San Diego that next year he was
there too
because he had the show pitch.
Yes,
and,
it was fun.
And so I remember interviewing him that one.
Who knew Zach Morris?
I did.
He's a big sports fan.
Constantly around the All-Star game.
Yeah.
No idea. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable is right.
The one thing I wanted to ask you guys is what you feel like the legacy of this event was, because it meant a lot to a lot of different people. Like Todd, I'm sure it meant a lot to you in different ways and to people that are here. And I'm curious, Todd, for you, what's the lasting legacy, the biggest impact that this night kind of had for you in your mind?
Yeah, I just think, it gave hope. It gave some dreams, as kind of like, I don't know if it's corny or it's a little bit, but it gave life back into Cincinnati a little bit. It gave people a feel like this city is awesome. Look at this guy coming from Jersey, representing our hometown, our home city, and getting after it and putting, not putting Cincinnati on the map, but hey, listen, we're going to be lethal here. And we had a really good team. And for a couple of years before that and kind of leading up to it, and the magic just ran out. We just never could find a way to get over that first round hump.
Jim, what for you, legacy of that night, the biggest fallout?
Well, Todd was always a big fan favorite. I think it's part of the Jersey thing, just your persona, and obviously you're a very talented player. It was part of some good teams, like he said. And it would have always been a fan favorite, but I think this just put him into Reds lore. This just solidified him in a different level, not just a good player that was really popular that the fans liked. It put him into another echelon that few go. And you were talking about Reds have serious history behind them. I know, not recent. I get it. I understand. But it just puts you in a different level that you're going to be there forever.
On a bigger, like on a more wide thing, I think it saved the home run derby.
Bam.
Like, I don't think you guys remember. Like,
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, you might remember the year before. It was boring as hell.
Yeah,
They changed the rules.
Changed the rules.
They changed the
three
rules.
straight years.
Completely changed it, and like then they saw this. The rain helped because it shortened it a little bit, made it less. But like just the excitement of it, it said, "Oh, this new format works." I mean, you couldn't have drawn it up better. I mean, Paul just talked about it. Each round of yours, at least, and you also have you had Albert Pujols. You almost faced Albert Pujols in the finals.
That would have been fun.
If it wasn't for sweat on his glove or whatever it was that happened, he couldn't swing.
He almost
the
let go of
last
the bat
minute
a bunch
and
of times.
and that ended up costing him. But no, I think that's it. That's my second thing on here was the night that saved the home run derby.
Sorry.
No. But the first one I think is this was reminded the world a little bit that Cincinnati is an unbelievable baseball town.
For sure.
I think that kind of the city just showed out. I mean, whether you're talking about the broadcast, it was a gorgeous night once they went to the broadcast. All the money shots, the Roebling Bridge, the city from overhead, the stadium was full. And the broadcast did a great job. It was great. I thought Aaron Boone was unbelievable. Which is funny that he was on the broadcast. He was so good at connecting the history in the city with what this moment means to all these people, why these people are so intense and so loud. And I just thought it kind of, in what ended up becoming a rough stretch, it reminded everyone that, maybe the team's struggling, but that city loves baseball like nobody else, and they will support things that are great. And it's just so funny to sit there and listen to the crew, whether it's Berman or Boone or even when Griffey was on, just be like, wow, whoa, like just not believing what they're seeing from the entire experience.
How many All-Star games did you go to?
Two. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Minnesota in this one. I was going to say, I've been to 10 or so. The smaller the city, the better the All-Star weekend or week. Minneapolis the year before was awesome.
Yeah.
Except for the home run derby. But going to an All-Star game in Minneapolis or Kansas City or Pittsburgh is so much better than going to LA or Chicago or New York or whatever, just because it takes over the town.
Yeah.
Like, if you remember that time, this town was just baseball for a week.
Yeah.
Buzzing. It was buzzing here, man. I remember because we had to play on the road because they got to set up everything. And coming back, the parade was unbelievable. The festivities over at the place we do the Reds Fest at, I can't remember the building.
Convention Center
was absolutely nuts. It was like Reds Fest all over again in the winter. And just so many memories. I can't remember them all, but hopefully I touched some people and they were excited too.
There were mustaches everywhere. I loved that. Like they had the mustache on the building. You had the mustaches all around town. And people were the city took so much pride in hosting this because they had felt, to be honest, passed over and still are by so many big events. And I think it felt there's an ownership. And I remember coming out of that weekend, everybody that was a part of baseball, and you told me a lot of this too, people that I talked to that were in town were like, man, that was one of the best. Like that was just, the city took a lot of pride in putting on a great weekend and they nailed it.
And it's kind of funny because I remember very little from the game itself. I know Mike Trout hit a home run, and
It was a pretty boring game.
it was a pretty boring game, but it was like nobody cared because everybody was just like, we can't spend this energy because we spent all our energy last night. And it was magic.
I got a question for you. I can't believe I haven't asked anyone this question before. I guess I haven't been in the position, but I'm going to ask it now. Were the baseballs juiced? And if they were, what was your reaction when you hit one oh, wow?
Yeah, I've been asked that a bunch of times too. I can. This is the answer I'll give. I didn't know if it was. Honestly, I didn't know.
That's why I'm asking about your reaction when you first
when
did
I
one.
picked them up. they're like, oh, bounce them. One's going to bounce higher. It really didn't bounce that higher if it was. That's a rumor I've always heard. I know this. So, and this is kind of different from a home run derby. In between the home run derby, the commercials in San Diego, they would have two softball guys come up and launch softballs. They would freeze the softballs in a freezer before that. These guys were hitting the balls at Petco Park off this jumbotron in left field with the softball, and it was absolutely a spectacle to see. But I can neither say yes nor deny because I didn't know.
How about the bat? What bat did you use?
I used my same bat. The Marucci made
Just
my
a standard bat.
Just a standard, 35-inch, 32.5-ounce bat. And
I don't know that 35 inches standard.
it's a big bat, but
He swings it with one hand sometimes.
yeah, that's when I was a lot stronger right now. But bats were fine. Everything's got to go through certain inspections too. So
You talked about your brother throwing to you, which became an awesome storyline of this night, but not without controversy. During the last bit, it is pointed out that Charlie is not waiting for the ball to land like he's supposed to, and you're just yelling at him to throw it. We can talk honestly about this now. Was there cheating? Was he throwing early? Has it ever been brought up to you that potentially there were issues and impropriety?
So Buster Olney, who was a longtime on-field guy and broadcaster for ESPN, he calls it the Charlie Frazier rule. It's my brother's first name. And then you saw Harper kind of do it. There was a couple instances, where I used some vulgar language, and I'm not blaming him. I was like, throw the effing ball. Like I was absolutely screaming at him. The umpire got me after the second round, and he says, I'm not going to count any of those homers. And again, I kind of blacked out again. I said, this is my effing hometown. You're going to call this. These fans are going to kick. They're going to kill you.
Good luck on getting out of here.
I said, you said, you want these fans to kill you? I said, we're good. Let's go. So I signed a baseball for him after that. I said, thanks for putting up with my shit. Home run derby champ, Todd Frazier. And we saw him afterwards. He's like, I'm so sorry. They're yelling at me to make sure the rules are right. I said, man, it's over with. I appreciate you. I love you. And I'm a home run champ. Thank you. Have a great night. And he was very appreciative, just one of those moments. I wasn't trying to start a fight. But I'm like, hey, man, this is my hometown. Don't ever tell me what to do again.
You saved the guy. You saved him.
Yeah.
If he would have called you out on it.
I did. If he would have said.
I just can't imagine
Yeah.
the guy would be like, time. That doesn't count.
Yeah, bring two down off the board.
Yeah.
Sorry, Todd.
Exactly.
Yeah, unbelievable.
But, yeah.
I wanted to ask you this a little bit. This was pointed out on the broadcast too, and I didn't remember this part. You almost didn't make the All-Star team that year. Like you had to come from the vote. The votes were poured onto you at the last second from everybody. It's like you talk about how things could have been different if you weren't even in the Derby. Do you remember the onslaught of votes that happened?
That was incredible.
That year?
Yeah, I remember. I still think I would have made it, just not a starter.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing. You wanted to be a starter, especially at your hometown. But I think I was down.
You said a couple million.
Yeah, a couple million is right. And then with like 10 days left, all of a sudden, it just kicked right in, and people are like, you know what, let's go. And voting, I don't know. The voting was just getting crazy. I was so appreciative. I was at Jeff Ruby's. It was the best steak around town, and he hooked me up with a nice one of those inside rooms where you could be secluded, and we were watching, and I had about 15 people with me, and it turned into another really, really cool moment getting announced as the starting third baseman.
So there's a point where you win, and really before it was really your walk-up music was used. The Sinatra music came out before everything. That got pointed out a lot. What you said you didn't know that they were going to be playing your music during the home run derby, or was that a surprise to you?
No, they've never heard it. So the announcers, like, oh, they're coming up to Frankie Blue Eyes, and I guess Berman and Boone and Kruk have never been to one of the home games. That was only it. I knew it was going to be playing all day.
Yeah, I mean, it was just more love for your persona, right? It was just to continue to grow. How does that change your brand? I mean, you kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, John. I mean, what did that do for your brand and feeling like people now all knew who you were? Like you were a ball player that people knew, but now that it changed your life, didn't it?
There were all little things, like things compile, and it was all in a good way. You know, I was a fan of The Sopranos, you know, guy, Tony, James Gandolfini, the late great, you know, he's, you know, Jersey guy, went to Rutgers. You know, guys like me, we take pride in where we're from. We don't back down from an argument, you know, especially if it deals with New Jersey and pizza and all this other stuff that comes with it. You know, some people like it, some people don't, but that's just the way we're built. And I know everybody here loved the way I played, hopefully, and you know, little inch by inch and day by day. I think, you know, I think my second year, Dusty Baker had to bring me in the office and say, hey, listen, because I was 0 for 31. I had an 0 for 31 span. I was 2 at-bats away from breaking the record of not getting a hit in that many at-bats. And he's like, we're looking for a new third baseman. I said, say no more. I said, that'll be the last time you tell me. You know, in my mind, I said, that'll be the last time I tell him. I went 10 for my next 20, had a great West Coast road trip, and kind of took off and bounced back from there. So adversity caused, it's always a quote I live by, adversity caused some people to break and other people to break records. And I was trying to break as many records as possible.
Well, you certainly broke a lot of things that night. I don't know, seats, gloves, hands. You don't be hitting any scoreboards, but what was the setup? The beginning of the first round, you come back from underneath. It looked like while Prince Fielder was hitting, you weren't even out there at first. Were you?
No.
Were you back? Why were you? What were you doing?
So I had a routine, and you know, I kind of taught Pete Alonso this, not to give him credit. I'm like, in between or right before you go out, don't swing as hard in the cage. Don't waste all your energy. So Charlie, my brother, would throw, and I'm just basically peppering the ball. You know, I know what a home run swing is. Everybody does. If you're a major leaguer, you know how to hit home runs on a quicker rate than most. So my routine was 1 Pedialyte, a whole bottle of Pedialyte because it was really hot. Either a granola bar or a hot dog in between, or not hot dog, excuse me, banana. A
Hot dog's a much better story.
Much better.
I'm getting hungry. That's maybe why I'm thinking. Either granola bar, they're similar. They kind of, in the way they are.
There's several things.
But I would absolutely, and everybody's like, bro, weren't you bloated? I'm like, bro, I sweated so much. So basically I had 3 Pedialytes, 1 in between each, a banana or a granola bar, and I would just sit at my locker and then just watch. It was nice and cool in there. And as much as I wanted to be a part of every single festivity, I knew I was there for one thing only, and that was to win the home run derby.
Unbelievable. So are you like the home run derby guru now? Like, do people come to you for advice?
Some people have asked. Yeah, I mean, getting to know Ken Griffey Jr., I think they would ask him more advice because he's got one more than me. And it was cool. Now I get to broadcast the home run derby for the next 2 years. I signed a 3-year deal with ESPN. And Griffey was right next to me, came in, and we talked during this year's home run derby. And it was like such a cool conversation because he's one of the best home run hitters to ever play the game. And just talking about, you know, the new way people are swinging and every different which way. And great conversation on air. And, you know, a guy can call right now and give me advice.
I mean, you end up out there, and it's not just the crowd or the city or national TV audience. It's Griffey.
Yeah.
It's Eric Davis. I mean, we were just watching this, seeing all of these people that are greats in Cincinnati, and they're all staring, waiting. Are you going to do this for the city, Todd, or are you not? Like, was that different? That's got to be a different level of pressure, right? Or was that not really a thing that you were thinking about?
No, it was a different level of pressure. You want to do it for the people that started it, that came before you, and it's amazing. It's just a game. You think about it, it's just a game. Whether I won or lost wouldn't have changed the way I played baseball, but it changed myself. It changed the city, and it kick-started the new home run derby format. And I can always say I had a big role in making that home run derby, like Trent said, great again.
how do they need to fix the home run derby now? What are they going to do now? Do they need to tinker with it again, or are you okay with it?
No, I like it. They minimize the time a little bit. I'm sure they're going back to the drawing board and trying to figure something else out. I think it was great last year. And then they minimized it more as the rounds got, further in. So I think it was pretty good. What did they do? So you had to hit a certain amount of home runs over 400 and some odd feet. That was kind of different for me. I didn't really understand it until basically at the end, but it worked out to be a really good home run derby.
Do you guys like the fact that now it feels different because of the stats? Like you can instantly see launch angles and velocity. Does that change it? Like, Jim, for you, do you find it more entertaining, or do you like it old school like that, where just that little dot popped up and said the distance, and that was kind of it? You were just kind of going off of feel of the eyes.
I think we overload information on TV sometimes, and it's the biggest thing for me is. And this is coming from a TV guy. It is a tough watch sometimes because of the timing of it, of the ball still going out, and you just kind of lose track of where you are on the broadcast. It's in the stadium, it was fantastic. But on the broadcast, it's kind of a hard follow. I don't know. It's hard to explain just because of, keeping track of the ball going out. Then they're pitching again, and it's kind of like a cluster on TV. So I'm hoping that they can improve the TV product.
I always tease John Shambi because he announces it on radio, and I'm like, how do you do the home run derby on radio? And who the hell listens to the home run derby on radio?
That's got to be hard too, just because you got to be so precise in what you're saying. Back to left field, like you got to be like. And 10 feet away, like you got to try and be as precise and particular and pick your points as well there.
I'm always worried about the kids crashing into each other too.
I'm worried about them just getting smoked.
I'm like, someone's going to get crushed out there. I mean, this is going to be a bad event.
And we've seen some kids getting hit by baseballs and stuff like that. I just always so confused why the littlest kids are as close as possible. They should do when a righty's up, put them in right field. When a lefty's up, put them in left field. But they're not. I don't know. That could be something they talk about.
I don't know if they made it worse here, but they would cut away right before the ball hit into the kids. It's like, did something happen? Is that why they cut away? They were like, we just in case it happens. I'm like, next time they cut out there, is there just going to be a child laying in center field, and we're going to have to just guess how it went down?
I'm just saying, if you want to spice it up, put number values on hitting kids. The younger the kid, the more points. That would spice it. You can take that to ESPN, Todd.
I'm going to tell you right now, I will not. But
for those listening to the audio portion of this, that was Trent Rosecrans. So that I just want to clarify.
I'm pretty sure everybody who knows me knew that was me.
That's crazy.
I'll kind of give you guys each a chance to kind of touch on this. Who do you think is the biggest winner of this night? It could be, obviously Todd is technically the home run derby winner, but I feel like there were lots of different groups and subsections of people that maybe were winners on this night. Jim, I'll start with you. Who do you think was maybe the biggest winner from what happened on this night?
Well, beyond Todd, and it's not a person, but it's the city. It's, as you guys touched on, at the time, and I'm sure it's still hailed as one of the best All-Star games, but the people that I talked to from around the league and the national people, the national writers, the pundits, etc., it's sort of what Trent said as well. The smaller venues, the smaller markets do the All-Star game better. And I think Cincinnati just shined that whole event. And it couldn't have been a better couple of days for the city of Cincinnati and a baseball market that needed a jolt at that point. Now, we need another one.
Is the All-Star game coming here anytime soon? Can we
that was just.
We just stage a home run derby.
It took a lot for Cincinnati to get the All-Star game, and they just kept getting overlooked, and this and that and this and that. There are a lot of politics behind the scenes, so I don't expect one soon. Maybe not even in my lifetime, but I think the city of Cincinnati won, hands down.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I have some others. I'll give it kind of out of the box. Rob Manfred he made a good decision and got, to change the format.
He doesn't get a lot.
He doesn't get a lot of W's.
No.
So I'll give it to Rob for getting that elusive W.
Okay. Who's the big winner for you, Todd?
Yeah,
yourself? Just say clearly myself.
Listen,
Who's got the belt?
I was a big winner. I would have to piggyback what Jim says, the city, the fans, but also, you think back to people that work countless hours at the stadium, man. They're there. Some watching, some still working, and they're just. I remember so many people came up to me that worked there and were like, this was so cool. It makes working here awesome, and I'm just so blessed and lucky I had to be a part of it. And that was another little inkling in it too.
I was going to go with Charlie, but I thought you were going to take Charlie.
We already talked about him. He's good.
That's enough. I mean, do you get that still? Is that the number one thing that people still bring up to you? Like if you're walking around wherever, like do you get that a lot? Like they want to talk about the Derby?
All the time, especially around here, and especially when the time comes around, just like the Little League World Series. So
I was about to say, which one is more? Do you get more recognition?
I would say Little League. I don't know. It's different, when it just depends on what time of year it is, and it makes, brings up good memories for me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm glad. I'm so lucky that I got to do it.
When you're signing autographs, do they ask you to sign more as the Home Run Derby champ or the Little League World Series champ?
Home Run Derby champ.
Except in Tom's River.
It could be anything in Tom's River. We don't. That's another good one right there.
Hey, Todd, my sister?
Let's hear it again for Todd Frazier for joining us.
Thank you.
Incredible for indulging. And see Trent, Jim Day, for all of you guys that came out. Thank you guys so much for coming out and taking part in this. And it was awesome having you guys all here on the podcast. And one more time for Todd Frazier. Thank you, guys.